Do a review. Lekut sichas and Chelek Yutes. This is the first sicha for Chag Shavuos, and in this sicha, the Rebbe goes through the various different reasoning that there is a discussion in the commentaries why the angels argued when Moshe came up to receive the Torah. They said no, that Hashem should give them the Torah. And the various explanations that there is a din of a bar metzra, that if a person has an adjacent field to a field that is being sold, you can't just sell it to the other person. You have to sell it, the rights to the person that comes next to it. He should be the one that the field is sold because of doing what's right. He has the fields next to each other. He has a field already there, so why do you give it away? So basically, the angels were arguing that the Torah is next to them. Instead of giving it out to the Yidden, it's called the law of Bar Metzra. The Rebbe goes through in the sicha the various different reasoning of the Meforshim, why it should not apply, and the Rebbe is going to reject all the various different reasoning, and the Rebbe is going to come to the reasoning that Yidden need the Torah in order to build the Dira B'Tachtonim. And the halacha is that if you are using the field for a building, for a structure, and the other one wants it for a field, for planting, the person who wants it for a building gets precedent and you sell it to him, notwithstanding that there's another bar metzra. The Rebbe is going to explain how you need the field to make a dira lo yisbarech b'tachtonim, and how this is in the words of the Gemara. The Rebbe is going to point out all the other arguments. It's not in the words of Moshe Rabbeinu, his response, why they angels don't deserve the Torah, as we go through. We'll study the sicha in memory of Harav Menachem Mendel ben Meir Yaakov in the Shloishim, and for Refuah Shleima for Golda Rechel Bas Sorenoim Refuah Krevo Shleima. This is Chag Shavuos, the first sicha in Chelek Yudches for Shavuos. Aleph. So Benegei, it's first the Rebbe quotes the whole Gemara, in the Gemara in Shabbos. It says Benegeya to Matan Torah that it's the Gemara relates that when Moshe went up to the heights, to the Har Sinai, Amru Malach Hashoris, and he met up with the angels that serve Hashem. So the angels said before Hashem, Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbeinu Shalom, Master of the universe, what is there to someone who was born from a woman, meaning a human being, amongst us? What is a human being doing amongst us, amongst the angels? Amar lahu Allahem. So Hashem says to the angels, L'kabil Torah, he came here to receive the Torah. So Amru Lefanov. So they said before Hashem, Chamuda Genuzo, you have a precious, hidden treasure, Genuza, which has been hidden, the Chulu, the Gemara Kutiv that it's been such a treasure. You are seeking, you want to give this away to a flesh and blood, to a human being? Quoting the pasuk in Tehillim, what is man that you remember him, etc. And there he said further, what it says in the pasuk, to know give your glory on the heavens, keep the Torah up here, don't give it away to the human beings. So Hashem says to Moshe, Hechzir lahem teshuva, go respond to them. Hashem says, Moshe, you respond to them. And then the Gemara says he was afraid. There says, hold on to my kisakovet. Amar lefonov. So Moshe says before Hashem, Rebbeinu Shalom, Torah she'ata noisen li maximo. What is it written? The Torah that you're giving me, what says in it? It says, Anoichi Hashem elikecha asher tzisicha meretz Mitzrayim. I'm God, your God, who's taking you out of the land of Egypt. Says Moshe to the angels, Amar lahem, leMitzrayim yiradetem. Did you descend to Egypt, to Pharaoh, to Egypt? Leparish tabadetem. Did you enslave? Were you enslaved to Pharaoh? So Torah lomote lachem. Why should the Torah be given to you? Why should it be to you, the Torah? It says in the Torah, Ani Hashem elikecha tzisicha meretz Mitzrayim, but you weren't in Mitzrayim, you weren't slave. Ben atem. Then it says why? Shu maximo. Further, what does it say? That's the first of the Aseres Adibros. Then it says the second of the Aseres Adibros. It says Lo yilcha elikim acherim. Should be no other gods. So Ben amim atem shruim. You angels, are you then amongst the nations? Do you live? You camp? Sheinu Avodah that worship Avodah Zarah. When you live amongst the nations, they worship Avodah Zarah. We have to say to a yid lo yilach alikim achedim. But the angels, you don't live amongst the nations. So why? So he answered the angels about the other sayings, as he says, klum atem oisim melacha, resting on Shabbos. He says you don't do any work. And then it says you shouldn't steal. Is there give and take? You don't do any business. It says honor your parents. Do you have a father and mother? Then it says you should not lust. Do you have jealousy? Is there a tzara amongst you? So why do you need a Torah? The Torah is dealing with all these matters that you have no connection to them. So immediately they actually agreed to Hashem and they let Hashem give the Torah to Moshe and they agreed to that. All right. So what was here, Rebbe is explaining now, state in Sforim. It's brought down in the Sforim. As you say that Taina pi halacha, what was the halachic argument? Why did they think that they get the Torah from the Malachim? They said, "No, hoitcha ala shamayim, give your glory on the heavens, the sky." Is dos dina de bar mitzvah. That comes because of the law of a abating neighbor. If you have a neighbor that abuts your property, there is a special din that you have to, if you're selling your property, you have to give them the first chance to buy the property. The din is, the halacha is, if one sells a field to another person, so then the person, the abutter, the neighbor, has the recht zu nehmen the feld from the lekech. He can take it away from the lekech. So if the seller sells it to another person, you can go and pay him the money and take away the field from him. Because this is a benefit, it's a favor for the neighbor, for the abutter, the one who lives next to him. Seinefeld zusammen. He wants to have his fields next to each other. When he plows, he has one run to do. Und Torah says, that you shall do that which is right and correct in the eyes of Hashem. So basically, that means that one needs to go ahead and take into consideration who the neighbor is and sell it to the neighbor. You can even take it back from the other person. So this was the argument halachically of the angels. This was the argument of the angels. About the Torah is genuza, since the Torah is hidden, which means it's hidden, that it's in the Shamayim, it's not open. And and it is found in the heavens above, in the Morim Shmayim. And the angels are in the heavens. Therefore, they have the law of Bar Metzra. So, they deserve the Torah. and that's why they said, give your glory on the Shemayim, mitzad the halachic ruling of Bar Mitzvah. Now, the Eibishter has already technically given the Torah because to the Yidden. Why do they want to take it away? Because it says in the Torah, it's Shabbos B'nai Yisrael. Because the halacha is, even if it's sold, you can take it away. The mit, that's what Rabbi explains in the bracket. The mit is move on. And the Torah, how did the Malachim wish they wanted to take the Torah, nog them in Torah. Already it says in Torah, it's Shabbos B'nai Yisrael, Da B'nai Yisrael. It's already given to the B'nai Yisrael because we talk about command the B'nai Yisrael, speak to them, the din by Bar Mitzvah is because the halacha by Bar Mitzvah is as oich nog der mechida. Even after it was sold, is men mesalig them lekerch from soda. We remove the buyer from the field. Umegitas up to them to Bar Mitzvah, and you give it over to the neighbor, to the one who is the neighbor abutting the field. So even though the Torah was given to the Yidden already, we should take it away from the Yidden and give it to the Malachi because they are the Bar Mitzvah. Okay, so that's the argument. I explained the argument of the Malachi. So what is the counter argument? We've seen the Gemara, but how does it answer the Bar Mitzvah? So the Rebbe brings down various different answers, but the Rebbe says all these answers are difficult, and that's where the Rebbe comes up with his chiddush of the answer that is to build a house, as the Rebbe will explain. So what is the challenge? How do we knock off the argument of the Malachim? So we find in Mefarshim several answers. And some of them is, number one, that the din for Bar Mitzvah is shaykh nor by karka. That the law of Bar Mitzvah only applies to property. If you're a neighbor in the property and they sold the property, you have to get it, the neighbor gets it first. But not by metaltal, but not by movable objects. Torah, therefore, when Torah is doch nit karka, Torah is not a property, and therefore they don't apply, doesn't apply to Torah, the rule of Bar Mitzvah. And the Rebbe will challenge this answer later on by saying that the only reason why there's a difference between a taltalin and karka is because you can buy it elsewhere, but the Torah you can't get elsewhere. So that's not a good, we'll wait for the Rebbe's answer. Number two, the other idea we find, did the Bar Mitzvah is nor by mechira. The law of Bar Mitzvah that you have to give to the other one, it's only if you sell. If you want to give a gift to somebody else, even though there's a neighbor abutting it, he can't come and take away the field and say, well, I'm a neighbor, give it to me. A gift, if you're selling it, you have to sell it to the neighbor. But if you're giving it away, by matana, it's by matana. Und the Torah is gegeben geworden by matana. Torah was given as a gift. But here too, the Rebbe says, Torah is not only a gift, the Torah is also a sale, as the Rebbe will bring the psukim. Well, anyway, that's the second answer. The third answer is, there's another exception. That if the one that you're selling is related to you, then even though the other one is an abutter, you can give it to the relative. A relative is different. So since the Yidden are relatives of Hashem, so even though the Malachim are closer by Metzra, but still Yidden get to keep it in this case. Who is a great nation that Hashem is close to him? That means we're related. Yidden are more than just related. They are sons to Hashem. By relatives, and certainly by sons. We don't apply the laws of the neighbor that you have to sell him first. A relative can get, you can sell to a relative before selling to the neighbor, even though there's another neighbor there. Yeah, but the thing is, Malachim are also considered related to Hashem, as the Rebbe will ask. We'll see later. Dalit. Moshe Rabbeinu, about Moshe Rabbeinu steht, as it is given, Ish Elikim. Ish Elikim was a godly man. What does it mean, Ish Elikim? So the Medrash says, Mechetzio Lemata Ish, that half and from the half and the lower part, he was human. Mechetzio Lemata Elikim, he was godly from half and up. Is the Moshe given bar mitzvah to the Torah v'sipa shemayim. Moshe himself was a neighbor, just like the angels argued that they were. He was also a neighbor to the Torah because which is bashamayim. But the thing here too, Moshe Rabbeinu was getting it for the Yidden, not just for himself, as we see the Rebbe asks him that. And hey, if impossible, Vayamid ha'omal Moshe min ha'boker ad ha'erev, that the verse says that the people stood on Moshe from the morning till the evening. So Chazal, our sages tell us, as Moshe Rabbeinu is given Adon Din Emes Lamitei, that he judged the true, complete Emes Lamitei judgment. The Gemara says that anybody who judges Emes Lamitei was Ki'ilu Nase Shutev LaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Maaseh Bereishis. So you become a partner with HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ma'aseh Bereishis. So basically, the Yidden are partners with Hashem. And the din is that you only have to sell it to the Bar Metzra, but if you have a partner that you want to sell it to, a Shutef, then you can sell it to the Shutef. You don't have to sell it to the neighbor. So therefore, since the Yidden are partners with Hashem, they get it first. And the din is, as Oib the Lekeach is Ashutav, that if he's a partner for the Meicher, Gate it on din of the Bar Mitzvah, then it doesn't apply the din of Bar Mitzvah. And here too, so therefore, we find all halachic reasonings why the law of Bar Mitzvah and why the angels weren't correct. But here too, Moshe Rabbeinu, even though Moshe Rabbeinu was a partner with Hashem, but he was buying it for all the Yidden, not just for himself. So we'll see. That's also. But the bottom line also, all this is not hinted in the Gemara. And actually, the Gemara comes out a little bit different. Let's look inside. Base. Seems like we can ask if the let's say terutzim. Maybe we can challenge these last two answers, which we talking about the specialty of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why is it no bar mitzvah? Either because Moshe Rabbeinu is godly, or because Moshe Rabbeinu is a partner. How would this help for the Bnei Yisrael, for all of them? But Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get it for himself; he got it for the Yidden, and they're not godly, it would seem, and they're not partners. The Rebbe is going to say they're also godly; they're also partners. So this would fit. The problem is it doesn't sit in the Gemara. Listen, if the let's say on these last two answers, that Moshe was either godly and therefore he was also karev, or that Moshe was a partner and that's why it doesn't apply to the Bar Mitzvah. So if these last two Moshe is noch kibul Torah mit Sinai, nicht nur for sich. He didn't accept the Torah, receive the Torah for himself. But for all Yidden, he received for all Yidden. So what does it help? But that we can answer. Why? Faram the Forshim was sagen, Aleph, number one, as Ali Yidden seine Bnei Metzra zu Torah. Moshe is like a godly shalikim, but in a sense, we are all abutters. We're all in the Shemayim, and we're all connected to the Torah. Why? All souls of Eden are cut out from beneath the honorable throne. That's in the Shemayim. So we're pretty close to the Torah. So not only Moshe the Shalikim, but we're also close. And number two, this partnership that we said that Moshe Rabbeinu was done, Din HaMislamit, made him a partner, and therefore the laws of Bar Mitzvah doesn't apply. We're also partners. Shas, Matan Torah Zayin Ali Given Shut from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When the Torah was given, we all became partners. Why? So we were already connected, we were already partners at that point, and therefore we don't apply the Bar Mitzvah. How were we partners? About the Idnam Shing had the mitzvah of Shabbos in Mora. The mitzvah of Shabbat, they already received the more before Matan Torah, far Matan Torah. But Razal, our sage must remember tell us, Kol HaMispala Ber Shabbos V'Emer V'Yichulu. If you daven Erev Shabbos and you say V'Yichulu, Ki L'nas Yishutuv L'Kodesh Baruch Hu B'Ma'aseh Bereishis, as if you become a partner with Hashem in the act of Bereishis, you are saying V'Yichulu HaShamayim, you're davening, you're saying V'Yichulu HaShamayim, you are a partner with Hashem's action that took place. So we're all partners, so we don't have the din of Bametz. So therefore, that problem that Moshe Rabbeinu was getting it for the Yidden is not really a problem because, first of all, we're all neighbors, not only Shalikim, because we're all Gzuras Mikisei, Hakaved, all Yidden, and we're also all partners, not only Moshe Rabbeinu, who's not Din Emes Lamitoy, but when we keep Shabbos already from Morah, which was before Matan Torah, so why would there apply the Din of Bar Metzra? So those answers seem to hold. The problem, however, that I point out, but none of these answers is really hinted in the response to Moshe Rabbeinu to the angel. But we need to look in all the above mentioned answers. Because the main seems to be lacking from what's written over here. None of them is mentioned in the response for Moshe Rabbeinu to the Malachim that Moshe Rabbeinu answered to the angels. On the contrary, in the last three arguments that we brought down, why there is no Bar Metzra, that brings the opposite of Moshe Rabbeinu, trying to say, make us partners with Hashem, trying to say that we're godly. But in the discussion, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, no, we have a Yitzhahara, we are lower. He's not making us higher. And in the third answer, also saying that we're bonim and relatives, that's all trying to elevate us. In this third, fourth, and fifth answer, we're trying to make us higher, not to apply the law Bar Metzra. But in the words of Moshe Rabbeinu to the Malachim, he was saying we're lower, that we're in Mitzrayim, we have a Yitzhahara. In the last, the right to roots, these answers say contrary, the opposite of what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Indeed, in those answers, it's underlined the Azoi Moshe Yeder Id HaMoshe and every Jew is Korev LaKodesh Baruch Hu, is close to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. He's a relative, Korevim Lashem, he's Shaykh to Shamayim, he is connected, he's Shalikim, they're godly, Gezuras Mitachas Kisei HaKoved, and he's Ashutiv LaKodesh Baruch Hu, is a partner because of Vaychulu. The Gemara brings over a Ritzis Fakerte. The Gemara, however, brings out just the opposite. As the Torah is verbunden, mit Yerid LeMitzrayim v'chulu, Torah is connected, associated with the descent of Mitzrayim. As bringt arois the Gashmi from the Mlekeach. It brings out the physicality of the buyer, not the spirituality. There's jealousy, it's horror. So we're talking about, in Moshe Rabbeinu's words, the negative, the lowerness, the physicality, the descent, and not the spiritual elevation. So that's the problem with the last three answers. And there's also a problem with the first two answers in the how to fit it in with the Gemara. Also, it's difficult in the both of the first answers. In general, the question is there's no hint in the Gemara to them. But on top of that, these two answers have a problem with each other. Mentioned briefly before. Aleph. In the Meshtan Tiris, what did we say? Those was by Metalton, is Nitodin Bar Metzra. Why is Takia by Metalton doesn't apply the law that the neighbor should get it first? Is about the time for Din Bar Metzra, because it doesn't apply. Why does the law of the bar mitzvah as a home made the felder zusammen is nitchayach by metalton? Both feels together doesn't apply by movable object. Why? Or metalton? Why should you buy it? Why should you give it to the neighbor? Metalton or metalton? Go ahead and buy it elsewhere and bring it to your place. But their time is the Chelek Torah. You can't say that with regards to Torah. The Torah is a zach, the Torah is an item. You can't get it elsewhere. So that why that doesn't work. Second Torah says that by a sale, you have the law bar mitzvah, but by a gift, you can gift it to whoever you want, and you don't have to give it to the neighbor. But the Torah is not only a gift; the Torah is also a sale. I can zweiten to the base. And the second is a Torah gefindt man drei lashonos. We find three languages. Aleph Yerusha, the estate. Plus there's Torah Tzivilon Moshe Moy Rasha. It's an inheritance together. Number two, we find the Lashon of Mechira, which means a sale. K'mayim Razal. Our sages tell us, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Yisrael, Hashem says to the Yidden, Mocharti Lachem, Torah, I sold you, as if the Torah is a sale. And also Matona, a third level says a gift. K'mayim Razal, give him Matona's Tevis Lashon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yisrael. God has given three good gifts to the Yidden, and one of them is Torah. Torah. And also, as we say, the davening is matan Torah was given. The Torah was given to us. Why we have three languages? Weisen of the Draya Fanim was his door in the Shaykh from Torah. They point to the three different ways of a way a Yid connects, Torah connects with a Yid. Kibur become Mekayim explained in many places. And the Bald Torah, but since Torah says Mecher, he's not shaykh to bedin bar mitzvah of Torah, and that aspect of Torah which is Mecher should apply to the din bar mitzvah. So basically, it's not hinted in the Gemara. The Gemara actually, the last three points are the Gemara is giving a different, totally different, pointing about the descent and not about the elevation. The first two answers don't work. The Rebbe is going to bring down one more answer. And the Rebbe said that doesn't work either. So the Rebbe, that what was the argument? There's another answer. That would fit with the language of the Gemara. That by first bringing the explanation of the commentaries, as Tainas HaMalachim is of Chelek HaSoid Sheb'Torah. What they were arguing is about the part of the esoteric part of the Torah, not the literal, the revealed part of Torah. Oich Malachim Beisen, also angels know, Asum Chelek HaPshad VaSiyah Zeke Shaychas. That the part of Torah which is the simple and the doing, they have no connection. It doesn't apply to them. Ubemele is a taina from Bar Metzra given, but their argument of Bar Metzra was on the part, the secret, the esoteric part of Torah. The Baldas to Eden not gegeben the ganze Torah, since to the entire Torah was given. Malachim gekent nemen nur ein Chelek, and Malachim can only take one part, the Chelek HaSoid. Is there din? So then the halacha remains as mochar kol nechosov leechad leis ba mishum din bar mitzvah. The person goes and sells everything that he owns to one person, and one of the people feels that he has a butts with another neighbor. He doesn't have to give the bar mitzvah because he gave him all his field. Leis ba mishum din bar mitzvah. We don't have the law of bar mitzvah if you're selling everything. One idea. So, and therefore the Malachim, their argument is only about the Chelek HaSoid, but since the whole Torah, Pshat Remesh Drush goes to the end, they get the Soid as well. That would be one answer to the argument. There's another, Oich is the adin. There's another din. As oif der matzeren darf es haben laharvocha, und der Kirch darf es valdichikale shaita. The neighbor that abuts the property, he wants it because he needs more property for expansion, for widening his territory, his property. But the other one needs it because he is pressed for time, for property, he needs it. So then we don't apply the law of bar mitzvah. You can give it to the guy who's in need. He needs his property now, even though there's a neighbor. Same thing is in our case. Those of us eating there from open Torah, the fact that Jews need the Torah is as bedugma the chikle shaita. So similar to the time is pressed, they need it. But Torah is the chayis for Nayid. Torah is the life force of a Jew. Hem chayenu. Und durch Torah, and through Torah is a Yidman and Tzeich and Yetzer Hara. And through Torah, a Jew wins the evil inclination. K'mayim Razal. As our sages of blessed memory tell us, Barasi Yetzer Hara, while I created Yetzer Hara, Barasi Lo Torah Tavlin, I created the spice to sweeten it through Torah. We need the Torah to overcome the Yetzer Hara. So to us, it's the Chikale Shaita. We are pressed. We need the Torah. Shenkem Malachim as opposed to the angels. They wanted the part of secret of Torah. There's no Yetzer Hara. Is a Salderach Larvocha. That means for widening. And this is included in the answer by Moshe Rabbeinu, that they don't have a Yetzer Hara, and therefore they can't get, and they only want one part of the Torah, so they can't get it. But the Rebbe still says, on these answers, that it's we need it more, and we're getting all the other parts of the Torah. Those was Moshe the answered Mitzrayim Yeraditem. When he told them, you descended to Egypt, do you then do work, Maso Matan? Do you do business, Abaim? You have parents, Yetzer Hara is Benechem. As Malachim sein and nit shaykh zu Chelek Habshat, Vasiyah Shebetoira, that Malachim do not connect to the simple part of the and the doing of the Torah is doch by Zeikin Chiddush nicht given. That wasn't the issue. Moshe didn't have to come and tell them that. To begin with, they didn't ask for that. The Malachim does gewusst from früher. This they wanted to from the beginning. They knew this. That's why they only asked for the Chelek HaSoy. What were they asking for? Chelek HaSoy. They asked only for the esoteric part of the Torah. And the answer of them, so what is the answer? As Machar Kol Nechosel Echad Lesbei Shum Dina de Bar Metzra. That if you sell all your acid, then it doesn't apply the Dina of Bar Metzra over there. Or there, as Torah is the chayis you need, or the Torah is the energy, vitality, and they need it. That's not hinted to Moshe. He's just repeating the idea which was known by the Malachim, and the real answer that because we need it, it's our lifeline, or because we're getting all the other parts of Torah, that's not hinted. Und das was Torah is the chikale shaita by Ayid mitzad melchemes hayetzer. The fact that we're saying, well, we are pressed, we need it because of the war of the Yetzer, is a hezber from the matzav was Yetzer Hara yesh beinechem. That explains the situation. We have a Yetzer Hara. So we're saying, oh, there's we're pressed because it becomes a Yetzer. But from the language and Moshe's response and the great land, do you do malacha? Do you do business? Avim shlachem is mashma. That this is the answer. As the tshuva to the malachim, the answer to the malachim is nit azoy mitzadimim b'chamas hayetzer. It wasn't telling them that we have to wage war and we need the Torah because we have to wage war. Mitzadim closing in the Inyan. But the general idea here, as Chelek Habshat, Vasiyah Shebetoira is Nishayich by Malachim. that it doesn't apply to them. This is applied to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not telling them that we need the Torah to wage war, but telling them basically that they don't belong in the simple text of Torah, that they are not shaykh. The Rebbe explains both. Is the bir bazeh. What's the explanation? The tachlis von Torah is was val yoda der durchgeführt the kavonas habriya. The goal of the Torah is through the Torah, it is accomplished the intent of creation. For Nisaba Kodesh Baruch Hu, Liyas Lo Yizbareh B'Yeh B'Tachtonim, where Hashem intended that this should be a dwelling place here below. The Yadua der Diuk in Wort Dira, and it is known the emphasis when we say the word Dira in the dwelling place, as Azoivi in Adira gefindt of der Odom b'chol atzmusay, just like when we say you want to live there, not saying just be there, not saying just find himself there, but Dira latzmusay, Dira Azoivi in Adira gefindt of der Odom b'chol atzmusay, just like in a dwelling place, the person finds himself there with his entire being. So Hashem desired as Atzmusa Yizborech Zol Nimshach Leren B'Tachtonim, that His blessed essence should come down in the low, not just any level of Hashem, but the essence of Hashem should be in this world. How do we do this? Through the Torah. Durch Torah is oisi atem loichem. Through Torah, you take me, you take Hashem. Mitzad zeh falt op tainas hamalochim for din bar metzvah. Because of this, the argument of the angel falls away when their argument is that because they're abutters, they should get it first. Their din is, the halacha is, as oiv der bar metzvah vil desoda oiv ziriya. If the neighbor, the abutter, wants the field for sowing it, the buyer wants it, a binyan bayis for building a house, so then you give it to the buyer, and you don't take it away from it, not to the one who wants to use it as a field, not to the neighbor. But yishuv odif, because settling takes precedent. There's no law of bar metzvah of the neighbor of the abutter. And similar is in our case. As their tachlis from Torah is lasis lo yizborech dira bayis b'tachtonim. The ultimate goal of Torah is to make for him blessed a dwelling place, a house b'tachtonim. Fault of tainas hamalochim. That's why the argument of malochim falls away. Mitzadina the bar metzvah, because of the law of bar metzvah of the neighbor. And that's what the Gemara says. Moshe Rabbeinu answered. Did you go down to Egypt? In other words, you're not doing a dira b'tachtonim. You do work. You have business. Torah is shaykh to Eden. Torah belongs to Eden. Bidos is verbunden mit Yeshuv Olam, as it ties to the settling of the world. Olam has a hagashmi, in a physical world. Bein amim, between the people. Kina, yesh, jealousy. Davke. There's davke in this physical Olam hagazi. Davke. Kina yesh benech. There's all of these natural and physical phenomena. Torah was given to make for Hashem a dwelling place in this lower world. Zion. Das was not nicht gegeben Torah zu den Malachim. Why was Torah not given to the angel? Is es nicht weil die Elyonim dafür nicht ankommen zu der Hamshachas ha'atzmus al dei Torah? It's not that those upper ones don't need to come on to drawing down the atzmus that Torah brings down. Because also in the upper words is mitzad atzma meir blois ha'ora melakusi yisbarach. On their own, without a yid, without bringing down the level of Torah, it is only a ray from his blessed godness. So even the superior worlds, upper worlds, are a descent from the light of Hashem's countenance, blessed countenance. And through the service of the ones below, so we accomplish bringing down the atzmus. We make for a dwelling place for Hashem. Also the upper worlds. In God's Seder Ishtalshus, in the entire Seder Ishtalshus. That means that when we bring down the Eibishter in this world, we're bringing him down in the entire structure of the creation, even in the upper worlds. They're much like that. As the known example given, as Mevil Oif Hoibun Abinyan, Durchlei Hagbo Hanikro liver, that when you want to raise a structure through a vessel that raises up, it's called a liver. Darf man unterlegen dem liver unter die Chalokim HaTachtonish bedavke. You have to put it under the bottom. You raise it from the bottom so everything gets raised. If you would put the liver in the middle, then you would only take up the other. You would leave the bottom last. The bottom one's the bottom. So in order to get the entire structure, you have to start from the bottom. The far muzman geben davke lamati nelam hazar. That's why we have to give the Torah below in this world. Nothing lower. All the ways in the bottom, so that we can pick up everything. So through that, the entire structure, the entire building of the order of the Hishtal's evolution, everything is raised. Das ist euch, was Moshe Madgish given, sein Shuba, by Moshe emphasizing his response, Kino yesh beinechem yetzhar yesh beinechem. Is there jealousy amongst you? Is there yetzhar amongst you? Of Arois to bring him, in order to bring out this point, this is the lowest in the levels. There's nothing lower than it, how hidden light of Hashem, full of clippers. So that's what he was telling them. So therefore, we have to bring down a building. It has to come in this way. So it turns out that because we need to bring a deal of a tachtonim in this world, we need to turn in this world. But what about the fact they don't care about this world? They're about Metzra in the upper world. It's still not understood. Let it be true that in order to make for him blessed a dwelling place in the world below, darf men haben the Torah lamata, we need the Torah below. Das nimmt aber nicht herab die Tainus HaMalachim, but how does this take away the argument of Malachim, the law of the neighbors? They are the abutters, they're the neighbors. If they want to make this bias in the above, they want to bring the atzmus over there. They only have oil and they want to bring a diralois whatever there. So therefore, Muzman Zogun, you have to say, as that Indian for diralois barach habshachas atzmus, this whole concept of making a dwelling place for Hashem blessed, bringing the atzmus kemen bechlal nit oftan, is not able to accomplish this even if not in the upper world through the work of the malachim. That it's specifically through the work of the lower ones, That's it goes through Ishtalshlus. We need our work. The angels' work can't do it. It's only over here in this world that you get it. Why is that so? The biur, what is the explanation? The reason for this matter is the koyach ha'atzmos was in Torah. The power of atzmos that is in the Torah, that is revealed and it comes into actuality in the avodah for neshama v'zigifinzich in the service of a soul as she finds herself in the mitzarim ugvulim from el mazeh, in the boundaries and the limitations of this world. The neshama kum tarop inan olam. The soul descends in a world which is molei klippas v'sitra achra, full of klippas, and the other side, shehem neged havaya mamish, which are totally against Hashem. In this low world, is the soul wages war with the evil inclination. Breaks through all the blockages, all obstacles. Is a turns them from darkness to light. This kafyun is hapcha from klippa to subdue and turn around the klippa shem negative ayamamish, which are actually against Hashem. So inyan shel kedusha, the matter of kedusha, is an inyan shel ischachus. This is a novelty, and mach them yesh v'yeshus ayin. You take an entity and the being, and you make it into nothing. You're mavatlit. The koyach ha'ischachus, that power of renewal to change things around, is batzmusi is baruch is blessed atzmus. He alone has the power and the ability to create and to make from an entity from nothing. So this is the koyach of Ein Sof in Torah, to change around and make from the yesh ayin. He is the power to make yeshayin. And also that advantage that who has the power renewal is Beruvis in Shuvas Moshe. That's hinted in Moshe's response. In the Taina Ava Ein Yesh Lachem. Do you have a father? Which means fathering is the koyach ha'ischachus. Says Yedua, is known at the Inyan from Eloda. The idea of birth is amein for the ischachus ma'in liyesh. That is similar of that renewal from nothing into existence. Was the faris does not be koyach Ein Sof. That's why this is only in the power of the Ein Sof. Their koyach is the Tova Malach. And this power does not exist by the angels. So therefore, that's Abaim, and that is a Yid, and that's in the Torah. As other koyches chachus is doba neshamas lamata. This exists by the neshamas below. When they work in this world, they give birth. You take things that are lower, and you make of them by and through this to the entire order of Ishtalshlus, a dwelling place for Hashem's essence and the blessed Mahus. This is Mesichas, Yom Beis the Chag Shavuos Tovshi Yudches, the sicha of the second day of Shavuos in Tovshi Yudches.